Painful days for people in El Paso, Texas and Dayton, Ohio, after 31 people were killed in 2 mass shootings. U.S. President Donald Trump is set to visit both cities tomorrow. Some Democrats and other critics say that he's not welcome. The El Paso shooting is being investigated as domestic terrorism and a possible hate crime. Well, Tony McAleer is a former white supremacist. He used to recruit for groups like the White Aryan Resistance. He's now a co-founder of the nonprofit group Life After Hate, an organization that helps people leave the violent far right. He has a new book out, The Cure for Hate, a former white supremacist's journey from violent extremism to radical compassion. We've reached Tony McAleer in Vancouver, and he joins us now. Tony, thanks for your time. Let's begin with this past weekend. When you heard that the El Paso shooter had written a manifesto attacking immigration, what was your reaction?
Here we go again. I'm not shocked by these things anymore. I think the cycle between them is increasing, and I think, sadly, these things are becoming normalized. And sort of each one seems to build on the last one. The manifestos are more of a recent, phenomenon, and the use of social media, like in Christchurch, is new, and we need to do something different. I think also the way that we report these things, we need to look at, because there's a lot of doing this for going out in a blaze of glory, and I think if we can starve the glory, we can help minimize this stuff, but it's a tragedy again.
There's a lot to unpack there. Let's try to do some of that. You mentioned, for example, the fact that these groups seem to be at least growing in prominence, but racism isn't new. Attacking the other isn't new. Going after people from other places isn't new. So let's begin at the root of it. What draws people to groups and beliefs like that in the first place?
Well, I think, if we look at young people that we're encountering at Life After Hate, there seems to be vulnerabilities that they have, and it's feeling they're lacking meaning in their life. They're lacking a sense of purpose. They're lacking a sense of identity. They don't know who they are as young men, and I think they're lost and they're angry. And that makes them right to be seduced by this type of movement. And I think once you get into it, you told this is this great crusade to save the white race from extinction, and there's all kinds of people in the whole community that'll pat you in the back and tell you that you're magnificent, and those things may seem somewhat ridiculous, but if a young person is starving for those things, those are incredibly powerful seducers. And I think that's how young people end up there.
And as you say, may have always ended up there for those reasons. And yet you've mentioned the internet as well. How has it changed the conversation, and has it changed the potency of these groups?
Well, there's a couple things that the internet does. One, the time it takes to radicalize. So when I was involved in the white supremacist movement, just before the internet, you had to go to physical meetings, and you had to order a book, and the book might take a month to get to you, and it would take months and years to radicalize. But now with the internet, the speed of the information is so quick that time frame has been shortened, and now you can binge watch an ideology in a weekend, just like you can on Netflix. And so the speed, I think, is the number one game changer that the internet provides. And the other one is the social media aspect, in that, sort of an angry, disaffected kid in their basement, 10 years ago would have been an angry, disaffected kid in their basement. But now they can connect to a community of people just like them. And that creates the sort of group phenomenon, I think, that may be a factor in edging people on, and the greater frequency that it's happening.
You mentioned the speed that the indoctrination can happen now. How fast or how possible is it to deprogram or to bring people out on the other side, as you yourself were?
It's not a quick process. it's not a quick process, and we sort of need an opening, a disillusionment, a dissatisfaction, because I can tell you what happens is once they get into these groups, it's only a matter of time before they become disillusioned with the groups because they're so negative. It takes an incredible amount of energy to stay involved with them, and so we look for the cracks, and it's not going in right away and dealing with the ideology. Of course, we have to deal with the ideology, but it's going back and looking at what those vulnerabilities are and trying to find healthy ways to meet those vulnerabilities, like a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, a place in the community, and that type of thing. And it requires counseling. It requires professionals to be able to unpack childhood traumas if they exist, and those types of things. And there's a role for law enforcement in this. There's a role for civil society and organizations like ours, and there's existing networks of professionals that just need a little bit of training to be able to effectively mitigate and off-ramp some of these people.
A lot of people will be looking at those ways and means, especially after this weekend. Tony, I want to thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tony McAleer is the co-founder of Life After Hate, and he was speaking to us from Vancouver.